Sheesh. Hello, everybody, and welcome to day 2 of Academy Super Week. We got more Academy action and a lot of it right around the corner. Also, shout-outs to Rafa's range in that video. That was incredible. Can't believe he's hitting all those notes. And of course, Amen after that one. A lot of conversations around the scene yesterday from Cloud9's performance, Lennon, and a lot of conversations in general buzzing around Academy currently.
Indeed, it was a fun day. Kangas, it's great to be here on the Academy stream with you and to hear a nice opening tune to listen to. I will say we had some spice of our own yesterday here at Academy. Dig versus Evil Geniuses.
That was an insane
It was a spicy
series.
one. We're going to go ahead and send it to a video we have preloaded to kind of walk through a little bit of that. So go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, so this video is it's just kind of highlighting just the craziness of this. So it's nuts. It's nuts. XU's Lee Sin performance. I mean, we're kind
the 1v1 before the game.
Exactly.
Farm
Yeah.
up against 30.
And then
I can try follow up the kick from XU right into the waiting wings of Dark Wait.
Again, we'll just let it speak for itself.
Is that Joshi?
And I guess we just adapted to be banned game 2.
Any ground, but Saligo with the back still has a teleport available. I don't think they want to play for this.
No, not when Darkwing's on the other side. Here comes the TP, but Cowrie is able to flash.
Oh, no.
He's gone golden.
Oh,
Now
no.
it's going to be the attention turned back onto him. But here's Surdy. We've seen this play happen once before. He flashes over the wall. He was able to get one to go golden, but he's able to get the kill on the spawn and turn his attention onto Darkwing for 3 kills immediately.
One and one.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it.
One and one for
Dignitas. At least
Dignitas.
you get the pull back there. I love Joshi is looking very different. Kangas, I don't know.
I heard it was Joshi that did the interview, and then in my head I didn't even think that doesn't make sense because it is of course you that does the interview. So great interview. So,
No, Joshi's looking really good. I loved it.
and then outside of Dignitas, Evil Geniuses insane series that they had,
Yeah.
we also had. Of course, Triple coming in for CLG Academy on very little sleep, mind you. So we actually got a chance to chat with him and hear his thoughts on what could have been had he had, more practice ahead of his debut series.
So it's good to be back. You know, just got off like a 14-hour flight yesterday. Hella tired. So what I wanted to say was like we would probably comfortably run these guys if I was practiced with the team and wasn't piss tired. So.
Confidence.
Oh goodness. First of all, love to hear from Triple. Love being able to see him on the Rift. Just shout out to CLG and the decoration of that interview room, man. That's like,
it's sick.
It's so
that
amazing.
whole mural
Oh my
wall
God.
is so cool.
Can
yeah.
I get that at my house? Well, talking about some stuff here for Academy, we had some wholesome content, Kangas, as we
True.
actually got a little bit of praise for FlyQuest Academy's jungle in UG. We're going to go ahead and roll that clip real quick.
People don't know about him, but you can ask everyone that plays in Challenger. Everyone knows that UG is really good, and like he's getting like towards like a stage where he's more comfortable and like he learns very fast. And I think people should look up for him for sure. And if there's a player like that would win Champions League, it would be someone like him. He's just so good. And I think like the picks that we had him on at first did not like showcase his skill as well. But like if you look at Eugene Soki, he's a Lee Sin, Kiana talent guy. Like he's like a carry guy, right? And today we were like, "Are Eugene? You are Mongolia. Just show them what you are made of." And then we gave him this Kiana, and you just smurfing on everyone, you know. So.
Hey,
The cool thing about that is that Yuji had a pretty rough start to the split, but had an insane turnaround, and a lot of that, we were like, we don't know, is this, because we know he's a solo queue monster, we know that he can perform based on VODs that we had seen in the past, but it just wasn't translating to stage games, but it looks like FlyQuest are reinvigorated after yesterday's series.
It's just nice to see the wholesomeness come out in time and throw a little praise to his jungle as well. It's always nice.
Exactly. And then, of course, also, we had Immortals. Big story. after yesterday, Mazel,
Some banging
they
games,
2-0'd. They 2-0'd yesterday. Now, if you check their social media, they would say it was a clean sweep. Their coach, Nightshare, was saying maybe not the cleanest, but still, a 2-0 is a 2-0. So we also have some of Chad's kind of highlights from that match.
Well, just kidding.
I was going to say, are you sure?
Here's the fight.
Sure about that? That was a Hex Flash, and that is going to be Wixie. Doesn't have Flash, doesn't have Cleanse, no way to escape that fight, and dies in the fight. Look at Joey, too. He's still surviving against Kenby. Double kills, picked up by Arrow. As Busio, he's followed up by Chad, and without ult, without any damage to his name, it's Chad picking him up. He doesn't have any backup here either. Look at the chase down potential coming in from Concept to flash away. The Concept wants this fight, and with Chad there too, the Apprentice takes down the Master.
It is going to be going over to Chad Jungle. Look at me. I'm the jungler now.
Look at me.
The
Look at me.
Joshi superlative at the end, that award given, it's so good. I will say the thing for me, a little bit more wholesome gaming here. Chad was so excited to do the interview, wanted to do the interview, was so excited talking to him afterwards, and you can tell that they needed those wins, right? Like that felt good for them. So I'm very excited for what IMT can bring for the rest of the week, I guess, the super week that we have. But Kangas,
Yeah.
I've heard some rumblings of some scary stuff on Cloud9's side. They're running away with things, all right? 2-0 already. It's a super week. They're looking on fire. Can they potentially go undefeated, go 6-0?
There's no way.
I think I heard that there was a little bit of a challenge issued, and it was directed at you, my good sir. So we're gonna go ahead and send it over to you, because Rafa has initiated a challenge.
Our holy Ivern, hallowed be thy name. Thy lane kingdom come, thy will be done, on the rift as it is in draft. Give us this day our daily farm, and forgive us for our sins, as we forgive ourselves for our past CS deficits. And lead us not into early aggression, but deliver us from Lee Sin. In the name of the Father and the Son. Kangas. So it is true. You still don't see the light of our ways. I have to say, I find your lack of faith disturbing. But rest assured, your perspective will be remedied after today and tomorrow's matches against Immortals and FlyQuest. When we prevail, not if, when we prevail, you too will see the ways that of our church can reach even the most troubled spirits like yourself. And when we induct you next week, you too can be a part of the church. Amen.
All right, let's address something.
What you got? Yeah, you
Rafa
need a strong response.
Okay, Rafa has converted fully to the Church of Cloud9, and he is a firm and devout believer. I'm still holding out. I don't believe in the 6-0 dream. I do not believe in it. I don't think that it's coming. I think that they'll at least drop one game. So, production, let's get a one box up. I have a response. I have a response to Rafa, Mr. Fixing Your Glasses, for making a point to accentuate it. If you believe in Cloud9 so much, are you willing to accept a bet right now? Make sure to tweet at me in response if you do, because if Cloud9 6-0 this week, this is what I'll do. Next week, going into the broadcast, I'll be in full robes, full monk robes. I'll have everything locked down, and I will join your church, and I will be a believer, at least until they drop a game again. But if they lose, I actually haven't really thought about that far ahead. If they lose, you have to cosplay as either Renekton or Rek'Sai going into next week. There we go. One of the center champs. You will show yourself as you truly are, because I've seen your solo queue. I know what champions you play. All right, that's my response. That's all I got for Rafa.
You guys can take care of that on your own time. I don't know what's going on with all of that, but hey, I might be a little bit of a believer too. Their games are looking really good. I don't know, Kangas. I know you haven't been on that stream because, you know, I've had all the good games, but like, you need to catch up on those games. Come on.
This is my theory. If you're watching Champs Q, again, all the streams have been going live. I think people are starting to learn because of how many enchanters we're seeing, how many farming junglers we're seeing, how many styles we're seeing. Players are getting the reps in. So I'm expecting Cloud9's like read of the meta, and let's be honest, they do have a different read than everybody else, and they are playing a different game than everybody else, and that's getting them wins. So props to them. But I think that the teams are getting the reps in, so they should be able to answer what Cloud9 Academy is trying to do.
Who knows, man? FlyQuest looking pretty good yesterday. I gotta say, the standings getting a little bit shooken up in the start of our Super Week here. A lot of shaking up to do still, though, as we still have 2 full day of games. But here we are, our game scores. CLG still at the top of the table.
Definitely happy that 100 Thieves dropped 0-2 yesterday to Immortals, who are climbing up. That's a massive clump between technically tied for second place and then tied for the rest. Look at all those teams there, Mazel. It's insane.
I just love FlyQuest, making their rightful place known, at least in the LCS Academy standings, making 2 wins, trying to keep this Super Week alive. But Kangas, we got to go ahead and look at today's schedule as well and take a look over at your games you're going to be covering on the 8th.
True. So that was yesterday. We've wrapped up on the past. Now let's bring our attention to the future here, everybody. On the twitch.tv/academy stream, if you're not on this one right now, make sure you pull it up so that way you have both and you're supporting both streams at the same time. Immortals Academy, Progressive versus Cloud9. Evil Geniuses Academy versus 100 Thieves Academy, and then TSM versus Golden Guardians. Now, this one, the big one I'm paying attention to, outside of Cloud9, which, could be troublesome, is that middle series right there between Evil Geniuses and 100 Thieves. That one's exciting. But now, let's talk about your stream, Mazel.
So, this will be on twitch.tv/FaceItTV, and all I'm saying about the first series, it's TLA versus FlyA, but it's no bias or anything, but FlyQuest, not too bad. Maybe I'll have an opposite bet from the Cloud9 bet where FlyQuest goes 6-0 and I plant some trees or something. No, that game is going to be very tight. It's a real test for FlyQuest, I feel like, and it's something really interesting. But the banger game is CLG versus Dignitas. That is going to be an absolute fun one.
Top of the standings versus the team that has gone 1-1 in their last 4 matches here. So if they keep that trend, that means that they can take one off of the top dogs right now with Triple back in. Very exciting group of matches today. But reminder for everybody, if you didn't know the matches ahead of time, it's because you probably weren't following a very important social media account on Twitter at Path2LCS. Is where you can get all your updates on Academy, current standings, match schedule, and on top of that, everything related to amateur as well. And speaking of, this is the last day to sign up for the Unified Open Qualifiers. So if you're a team that wants to compete and you haven't yet, make sure you sign up today. And then there will actually be a show, a team announcement show, where they go over everybody that has registered for the open qualification. So that's pretty cool. Check out their Twitter page as well, Unified.
All right. Well, Kangas, I do believe it is time for us to send everyone on their way to their streams. Yep. We got a little trick for you. If we land these wonderful treats in our mouths...
I dropped mine already. That's not a good sign.
That's not a good sign. If we land these wonderful treats in our mouth, you have to have both streams open all day long. Even when the stream isn't running, you have to have it on. All right, so here we go, Kangas. Let's send us off.
All right.
In style, baby. 3, 2, 1.
Super Week!
Woo!
much that I came from, and the pain that keeps keeping me strong, and the hurt that you cause in my soul. Better count on the seconds you go, for you're nothing but a memory ghost.
Hello and welcome back, everybody. We're getting ready for a very fun set of matches today, and it's day 2 of Academy Super Week. I got Cubby and Rafa on the desk. Wait a minute.
Hi, I'm
that's
Cubby.
Not
It's
Cubby
great
and
to
Rafa.
be here again. I'm here every week. Definitely.
Mark Z and the Tigress.
I have my Rafa chain on. Does
you
that
guys hanging out
count?
with me
You know,
today?
I'm swagged out like him to
Ooh.
a degree to bring you into your comfort zone, Kangas.
That does make me feel more at home, so thank you, Gabby. I appreciate that. Welcome to the show. We got some guest casters on for today. It's a treat to have both of you on, so welcome. Great that you're here. And now we get to talk about some Academy players, and you get some thoughts. We get to hear your thoughts on the development cycle here in North America. So thanks for being on the show. Awesome to have you. We're going to start off the show with Immortals Academy versus Cloud9 Academy. Now, I hear the two of you have been doing your homework. You've been watching the games ahead of time, so you already know your thoughts of these two teams. I want to start with Immortals because this team had a roaring start to Academy. If you remember, way back in week 1, 4-0. Since then, a little bit of a stutter, 1-7 until yesterday. So, Mark, I'm going to pass this one to you first. What's your read? What's the temperature on Immortals Academy right now?
Given the games yesterday, it's pretty hot because they were running the Ivern mid. The struggle time, it felt a little bit like they had a singular game plan where it's like, Chad, you're going to camp bot lane around Arrow. You know, even Joey was talking about how, oh, Arrow's such a great strong side player, but like, your enemies know that too. And it felt a little bit like they were struggling to get those same advantages. And I think the mix-up in strategy with the Ivern pick coming in kind of relieves some pressure on that bot lane to feel like they're the only ones who can step up and do things. So I liked seeing that branch out. It's just awesome as well that they're going to now be playing Cloud9 Academy.
Yeah, branching out, no pun intended. La Tigress, I want to hear your thoughts of just overall, what happened to Immortals Academy? Because I know you've been watching the games. They had that strong start, then a little bit of a stutter there. So what's your opinion on their current position?
Yeah, it's definitely been a bit of a wild ride for all of the Immortals Academy fans out there, because if you're talking about that first week where they were so effective, it was a lot around the fact that Chad had some really consistent games on the Viego play across all 4. You had Purdy being a solid rock from that mid lane position as well to play around the Victor, the Vex, a lot of the traditional picks that you're seeing here. And then some of that inconsistency in that between time, you're wondering who is their opponent, what has happened here, a bit of chaos maybe in the game plan that they have brought to the table, but bringing a whole new strategy, as many have recognized over from the Cloud9 side in the LCS, bringing that Ivern towards mid, even though it got a little bit, you know, wild and out in the later portions of the game, it gave them a new breath of life to really allow Arrow to flourish, which was really exciting to see.
And in the context of a struggling Immortals LCS roster as well, I'd say that Immortals Academy, they have players that we can look to that could easily make that jump. So Immortals, a lot of eyes on these players, especially this week, Super Week. But now let's talk about Cloud9 Academy, their opponents on the Rift today. The big story, this is the team that everyone's talking about right now in the Academy scene because of how different they actually look from the LCS team. They are playing different styles despite being under the same umbrella organization. Very exciting things. So, again, general thoughts, Mark, I'm going to pass it to you first. Cloud9 Academy and specifically Malice in the jungle here.
I was going to
What's
say
your
that
opinion?
you have to start with Malice. Just there's no one else you can talk about. He has been incredible so far. I mean, very rough start the first time that we saw him in that best of 2, but since then he's actually been very impressive. And especially on the Evelyn pick, I've really liked watching how he navigates team fights where he'll get really chunked and he'll chunk out his opponent, but then he utilizes the Evelyn passive to heal back up when he's camouflaged, and then the other guy is still at 20% HP, goes back in and finds the kill later. So he seems to have a really good handle on how to execute on these champions that very few other people in the world are playing.
The big thing for me, La Tigers, is the stats. Kills and assists at 14, actually has 3.17 average despite playing these power farming junglers, these junglers that just got to farm it out to level 6 and typically don't have that active of an early game. Things like the Karthus, things like the Evelynn, and then also still getting a goal difference as well alongside that. So the style's just so different from what we've seen on their LCS.
Yep, unafraid to go and venture top to try and get a dive going for the team to get ahead. And I loved hearing Copy commenting on this in his interview after the matchup, that I thought after people saw the Karthus play and the Evelynn play that these were going to be banned picks. I don't know why people continued to let us have them. And some of that unfamiliarity when going against champions like this also plays into the advantage of the strategy of having such a unique pool.
Exactly, especially in Academy where players are still learning all these different strategies. And there's one player on this team that we haven't mentioned yet, and we got to give him due. The player in the bottom lane who, according to the messaging from the team, is not scrimming primarily with the Academy roster, meant to be more of a scrim partner for the LCS team. We got King in the AD carry position, and I'm just going to say it. I've been very impressed with King's performance so far, especially given the circumstance that he finds himself in. I think that this is a player that has been turning a lot of heads, and he actually even has his own thoughts on the matter.
Yeah, he's definitely in a tough position, having to play only stage games. You know, you don't get the prep with the team, prep your picks for that week. But he's actually gone out and looked pretty good, so... he's saying if he even gets a little bit of scrim time, imagine how good they would actually be.
It's definitely a very unique dynamic, because obviously when you're focusing on the Academy matches specifically, you're thinking, oh, can I get in that scrim time? Can I synergize with my players? But you've heard a lot of the players within the C9 ecosystem talk about the fact that they really benefit from the internal practice as well. A lot of this different exposure to different strategies. So getting to see it play out live is very entertaining.
Iron sharpens iron. I mean, if anything, this is a benefit for the Academy players as well, as we've been seeing on the Rift. They have a very unique style. Also, your math's a little off there, King. You got 6 games this week, so hopefully that's for you, it's a 6-0, not a 4-2 by the end of it, because that could go other directions. But I am hearing that we're ready for pick and ban, so Latigers, Mark Z, I'm going to pass it off to the two of you to take over the show and walk us through pick and ban for game number 1.
Woot woot. Thank you, Kangas, for having us on your lovely stream. Now it'll just be myself and Mark hanging out for the remainder of this matchup. Immortals Progressive taking on Cloud9. And yeah, Mark, speaking a bit more to the C9 strat, while it's not exactly what we have seen in the LCS, I do enjoy the dynamicism when it comes to the drafts. And we're already seeing that Immortals are respecting those jungle picks with the bans already through.
Yeah, we have right away Evelynn and the Karthus banned out, like you said. I think what's really interesting when, you know, Kang has brought up the early kills that he's finding, 3.4 kills and assists about at 14. What makes that interesting is I think a lot of teams try so hard to punish the farming playstyle that they overstep. They want to get in the face of all these champions that Malice plays. It puts pressure on the opponent to be proactive, and then they stumble, and then they know the limits of these champions better, and the Cloud9 Academy squad can actually go and punish them. So now that they've banned out these 3 champions, I wonder where he goes next. I'm sure Malice has more of these tricky champions in the tank that he can reach for.
And with the way that the bans have been going with that focus over on Malice, and then of course the Ivern ain't getting none of that play from Pretty, no Zeri, no J4, that means that the Caitlyn is up and available for that first pick. Arrow, the one to be piloting that. A lot of Jinx as of late, but Caitlyn always getting grabbed up on the blue side when possible.
Yeah, the Caitlyn grab makes a lot of sense. We've talked about how Arrow is the strong side focus for this team. Chad in particular spends so much time around the bot lane. These are a lot of champions that you see, I think, very intelligently banned out by Cloud9. The Ivern getting rid of what worked yesterday for them, but then also the J4 being a champion that is one of the best for being inefficient, in air quotes, in the jungle. If you want to set up a fat camp around a lane like, say, Arrow, then J4 is going to be the best champion for that.
And on the opposite side, though, we do know who the jungler is going to be. It's Udyr, coming through for Malice, has played this pick once with an Academy. It was against Dignitas. Did not come through with a victory just yet, but maybe some different results that they're hoping for this time around. Karma as well getting locked in. We've seen Isles actually play this as a support pick, but hey, you never know what could flutter into that top lane.
Yeah, that's what I'm interested to see. So obviously, Kate Lux together, no surprise. Karma combined with Ezreal is the answer often to the Kate Lux lanes, because you can actually contest the push decently well and keep them off your turret. But with how much weird stuff we've seen in the meta recently, in North America in particular, you can't guarantee that's not a mid karma. You can't guarantee me that's not a top karma. And with this Jhin hover, you usually don't pair Jhin karma together. So this might kind of tilt their hand a little bit, saying that like, okay, this karma actually might not be going bot lane. It still works as a bot lane. It does have good push where karma can just Mantra Q the wave, Jhin throws out his little bouncing grenado, and then you clear most of the wave pretty quickly. So that's still a possibility. And then on the flip side, with the Gwen locked in, that is something that Chad played with the Ivern yesterday. The Cloud9 main roster we've seen run different supportive mids in the mid lane. Maybe the Soraka's up next for them as well.
This is my favorite type of draft in general, when you just don't know exactly where each pick is going to go, especially with teams like this, C9 pioneering a lot of these very enchanter-based strategies. IMTA picking up on it within their recent play. But on that note, a bit of the way that IMT has been going as we get in this later portion of bans is a lot of times when you try to switch up that strategy, you get a victory off of it, you're feeling pretty good. Do you stick with something in that same vein, or were you hoping to disrupt your competition just to get a little bit of the waters shifting in your favor before going back to something else? And you do see the Gwen is locked in, but not necessarily anything around it that really facilitates that jungle Gwen that we have seen in the past just yet. So right now it's looking a bit more traditional. But for Cloud9, little bit of a hover. I know, yeah, don't talk about the hovers too much, but you just mentioned the Soraka, and that might be something that they could bring through.
Yeah, Jhin Bard makes a lot more sense if they ended up going that, not the case. As you said, though, with the Gwen part, the double top lane ban kind of says it's probably a top lane Gwen. They're protecting it from some of these top lane counter picks that can come in, the ranged ADs that can harass her a lot harder on in the early lane phase before her W is up as frequently as it can be. The RA just super strong on 12.3. Everyone's been playing it. There's so much focus on other bans. I'm a little surprised to see it get through here. We'll have to see what Immortals want to do to counter it out. Ooh.
Triple specifically popping off on the pick yesterday, and the Twisted Fate getting locked in for Immortals. It did feel like some of their early success was also when they had pretty on a champion that could roam and affect the other lanes.
Yeah, I mean, this does kind of support that Gwen top theory about trying to get that thing rolling, as well as playing pretty well around a Kate Lux lane. If you do get the shove on the Karma Jhin, then you can port down there and get some good dives off. The only concern is with the TF nerfs that came in, his E starts that a lot of people were going, half the attack speed bonus that you normally got off that feels pretty rough. Maybe you just go back to Q start, and the Q ratio got touched, but early game that's not going to matter a ton. Otherwise, the base damage is the same. And Fiora.
All right, Fiora, last lock-in. All right, Mark. We know the comps coming through, so give me your thoughts on Fiora, as well as just who you feeling right now in this draft.
I mean, I love it. Darshan is someone who kind of does it all. He'll play tanks, he'll play weak side, and then he'll also play heavy counter picks. And the Gwen has a number of matchups that you can counter pick with that we just don't usually see in North America. The Jaxes, the Fioras, these duelists that can really take it to her. And so I like Darshan stepping up and laying down the challenge. It is scary to do in a TF. I'm a little surprised to see that. But overall, you know, the Karma goes bot lane. We have Malice on Udyr, maybe the least interesting pick he's had so far in his time in Academy, but I feel like there's a lot of pressure on Immortals to make things happen in the early game and shut down the Fiora or snowball the Caitlyn lane.
Especially when it's somebody like Darshan, right? A staple veteran of the scene that a lot of casters has commented on the fact that he puts so much work into continually improving. And if you want somebody that's going to be able to hold their own against someone like a TF where it maybe isn't that advantageous, you can feel a bit better knowing that he's the one piloting the pick and leading the charge within it. But also a couple bear slaps, I guess you got to worry about somewhat, you know. Well, smack to the face.
It's definitely a different style. While it's still more farming focused than some of the other junglers in the current meta, like for example the J4, it's still less carry oriented. So you can get really strong on this champion, but then it's usually about becoming this really annoying meatball that the enemy team can't get off of them, more so than like an assassin thread or a dive like a Hecarim or something. So a little bit different style in how you pilot it in the mid to late game, but with how much damage the rest of the team comp has, that's absolutely fine.
Alrighty, friends, family, enemies too, if you're watching, I guess.
Haters.
Yeah, haters, faded faces. I can't think of any words for haters beyond that. Faded faces, that ain't a thing. Anyways, Immortals lovers watching them come through here in the bot lane. Just a full cluster of the 5 stack. Really just trying to grab some of that intel early. The majority of the opposition here in Cloud9 setting to some standard places. You got King and Isles pushing up into that river, seeing what intel that they can grab as well. Alrighty, everyone. I am informed that it is just going to be me for just a little bit of time. Oh,
Psych.
Mark! You left me there.
Yeah, I'm still here. I think my mic might sound a little echoey, but I blame my room. It's a big box without any bass traps in the corners or anything, so you might get a little echo of me when I pop off.
At least
something.
you're not the yelly one too much.
Yeah, I could get really close to the mic and just whisper, and that should get rid of any reverb. But I don't know if anyone wants that ASMR cast.
Not looking for any of that right here at the start of the game.
Nope, definitely not.
One thing right at the start, though, we've got Chad picking up on his blue. Malice is already in the vicinity, has the ward directly here, and you notice a positioning of Darshan as well if they want to collapse upon this. Concept's throwing out the pings in the top lane, too. Blast Cone over the wall to get the slices onto Chad. A nice Ignite will finish off for Malice to get the kill cred.
Yeah, just too easy there from Cloud9. The early wards in the top side to know that they could go in there. Like you said, the Fiora not showing on the wave tips the hand a little bit, but Chad doesn't flash, he doesn't smite, he doesn't do anything. He just lets himself die there, knowing that there's not really a way out. A little surprised to see that, but gives that over. That gives the blue buff as well to Malice, who can just cycle out this entire top side before cross-mapping. We'll see if he tries to go back to his blue to protect it. The Immortals bot lane will have the shove on that Kate Lux. Copy is warding out to try and get eyes on Chad's path now, so that Malice can kind of adapt his path however he needs to.
And even if you don't have the eyes there, pretty much clear that Chad does have to go and start this bot side. It's more to see where he goes from that point and on. So Malice getting to return to his own jungle at this point to keep extending the CS lead that he has brought for himself in clearing these camps. And the Immortals bot lane continue to push this up pretty even across the board. And even with that intel that was dropped, you do commend IMT side for really dishing out that information, but the response not quite there just yet. Still really early in the game though, Mark. Anything can happen.
Yeah, but it's definitely a pretty good start for the side of Cloud9 Academy here. You gotta feel pretty good about it. You can see some of the wave clear from the Karma and Jhin. Now they get a couple levels in their abilities to kind of spam that and contest. Though this is the topside matchup that we're talking about.
Oh, Concept getting slashed down. Darshan, a key figure in piloting this pick. Doesn't have a flash because he did bring the Ignite, but does not need it. One tower shot, not enough to finish him off. That's 2 kills on the board for Cloud9.
Oh, this is going south quickly for Immortals. Bot lane not even given time to kind of accrue that lead, pushing in turret plates. Darshan gets the solo kill because the Gwen had kind of pushed up the lane in response to Darshan being in the jungle. So he's like, okay, I'll try and get the shove off. Couldn't get into turret, so then Darshan's just trading on him and has the entire lane to chase him down. Neither has flash, and he didn't even need the Ignite.
King and Isles pushed up for a moment to try to get some additional poke onto Joey, and Isles has to flash away. Good route onto the enemy ADC means King has now fallen. Arrow with the credit, and Immortals answer back with the bot lane pressure.
Okay, Immortals. I'm glad to see that they got some fight in them. The bot lane of Cloud9 just pushed up a little bit too far, and a nice stun there by Chad on the Viego. And nice flash followed by Joey in particular to make sure that King stayed locked down.
And you even saw kind of the moment there, Chad hanging around. That bottom scuttle was taken by Malice, but never stepping into that territory, so denying that intel as much as possible. And now with Isles, the only one remaining in the lane, it gives the chance for the Immortals bot lane to push that up a bit, increase that CS lead, and get a chance for a reset. But Chad and Malice coming together once more over on the top side of the jungle. Malice focusing on Gromp, brings his sights for a slap onto Viego. The slow walk out and the flash over the wall grants some safety, but it is still the sums expelled and the camps cleared.
Yeah, might not be done with this either. Copy using this pressure to roam up to the top side potentially and look for a dive onto Concept. No level 6s yet though.
Is still a dangerous foxy lady though, even pre-6, just with some of that early damage before you really build up that sustain. But they know the limits, just gonna get some backs right now. But still, with the pressure that was afforded by Immortals over on the bot side, C9 responding accordingly on top. Darshan wants to keep going for it though. The Howling Mist quite effective, and now Concept has to back because he's too low to stay.
Yeah, I gotta give some credit to Malice there being just on top of these jungle timers, showing up at the exact time that Darshan and Copy had shove in their lanes. So you're deep inside the enemy jungle. You're Udyr with no flash or ghost at that time. It could be dangerous, but he's coordinating with the rest of his lanes well. They know there's no way anyone could possibly support him.
Concept playing somewhat timidly because he knew this could potentially be the bait. Darshan does go for it, but because Concept was sure not to push this up too heavily, Pretty has had time to come through at level 6. Darshan still level 5, so he dies. Meanwhile, on the bot side, Immortals applying it so. A nice tether from Isles gets the lockdown onto Joey, so King can flash forward to dispel more of his damage, but he himself is low as well. Kill credit onto Arrow. Isles survives, but it's the trade 1-for-1 down bot.
I've missed Academy games, Gabby. They're so crazy. You don't have time to talk about anything. The pressure by Darshan was a good idea, but as soon as he blew his parry for damage, Concept just blocked that with his mist, and that allowed Pretty to port in. They knew there was no way for Fiora to parry that. And then the bot lane trading, I can't even get to it.
Oh, Swifty Bear coming, flashing to make sure the tether doesn't quite lock down. So another summoner expelled here down by Caitlyn, piloted by Arrow. But still, that's an advantage granted by Malice by showing that pressure down bot.
Yeah, Malice able to get the flash out after Arrow had kind of came out ahead in that back and forth 1-for-1 that they had. You know, you obviously would rather trade out the Lux for the enemy AD carry. Sorry, support players, but that was a nice pickup there to make sure that the pressure doesn't become too much with the Kate Lux lane.
The Dragon Wiz started up, but having Joey over the wall, just getting that intel for themselves, even though Malice and team had pulled the Drake out of the pit to try and get so safely, they knew that they weren't going to be able to finish it off, so they back up in time. That's still a neutral objective that will be up for the taking, though the warding is in the favor of Immortals because of that control they have pushed forward, as well as right there in the river side. So nice delay on the part of side blue. And a bit under 1k gold difference at this time. Some of those kills that Immortals were able to reap up to even things out.
Yeah, I would say so far feels like Immortals has stabilized a little bit. The Udyr is going to stay very far ahead, and they're taking advantage of this blue buff timing window. Instead of trying to cycle those camps one more time, you're going to go ahead and grab up the first Drake of the game for themselves. But at least this means that there's no more pressure on Viego. He's finally going to get his topside camps, and that means also no pressure on the Gwen either.
And Arrow had elected to back there, so they knew that this was likely the play to come out of C9 to go ahead and take the first Drake. It's a Hex Tech, and in 5 minutes' time, we'll see a Mountain Drake come through the fray for some potential stacking fairly early in this game to be getting that bot side objective domination. Herald's still up because we're past the 8-minute mark now, 15 seconds about, so somebody can start making the moves there. Vision afforded over by Immortals as well.
You already see Malice kind of going up to his topside camps. Wonder if he's going to just try and go right into the Rift Herald. So far, Darshan has kind of had pushed the entire time in top lane. It's getting a little scarier now with Pretty's ult coming back up. You'll kind of want to make sure the Ahri is in position to lock down and make sure that you can get on top of the TF, hit a charm if he tries to start hoarding on top of you. But, you know, he's going to try and get this wave in probably, but Darshan feeling a little scared.
Yeah, just a tad, at least this time in a better position than he was in the past. Ignite's both up once again from the top laners too, so if somebody does decide to bring that pressure, a lot more of an explosive opportunity. Just some of the trading nonetheless. Over on the mid side though, Isles making his early roam over towards Pretty. Pretty activate a little bit of speed to get out of the way of that charm. Nice dodge, my boy.
Still got a little antsy there. I think he was free of the charm even without the ghost. Still ended up popping it anyways just to be certain. Did not want to give that up there. It is a nice timing though, being able to get on top of him, scare him a little bit, get a little chunk as well, just so that you can get onto that Rift Herald cleanly. And then, of course, Jhin, a very safe champion on the bot side, can kind of just rip that ult off, shoot it at creeps, help clear the wave out. Chad, though, making good use of this time to cycle out the bot side jungle, getting a little bit of payback at Malice for all the times he got his camp stolen.
And because of the timing off that Drake and the like, there's no reason to hold on to that curtain call. So yes, using it to create some of that distance, and Chad saying, all right, I'm just going to clear this out to get some advantages for myself. Level 7 for both the junglers too, so a nice bit of bounce back, but still low in the farm territory and down the kill with only an assist for himself too. So trying to build up that gold. Meanwhile, mid, A charm answered by a flash. Pretty's royal flash right there. Sees the Herald is dropped.
Oh.
This will be plates going over to C9 side, which means that Malice has the opportunity to run and stun, and Chad comes in, throws down the Maw. Will he be the next target? Even when he tries to get the answer back, he cannot. 2 kills going over to Cloud9 and a full turret to boot with that wave coming through.
Copy showing the strength of the new Ahri there. Your Spirit Rush duration just lasts so long now. He's able to start that play off with his ult charm combination to burn the flash out of Pretty. Malice comes from behind during this time, able to get the follow-up kill, and then he still has extra dashes because that duration gets extended when you pick up the essence on Pretty. So able to find the cleanup kill on Chad there. A 2 for 0 in the mid lane, plus they drop the turret. This has exploded into a 2,000 gold lead right after Immortals finally got back into the game.
We live in a time where mid laners everywhere starting to enjoy the effect of some of the resets. You know, Vex, for instance, right? Being one of those champions that can give that satisfaction.
wow.
And now Ahri as well coming
Another
through with the
resetting
Spirit.
champion. Wow. Mobility. Wow.
Wow.
Such
It makes
unique.
for some fun plays, though.
Yeah, no.
I did enjoy.
I enjoy it too. I enjoy playing it, especially when you get that first cleanup kill and you start getting the resets to keep dashing around. It feels incredible.
We got a Viego around here too. It's just definitely something that keeps your team on its toes, whether you're on the piloting side or not, to get you out of some sticky situations. So Copy, keeping the eyes over towards top once again, because Darshan has been continually trading out with Concept. There's no wards from Immortals on that Riverside. Meanwhile,
Whoa.
down bot though, Flash and Ultimate layered alongside the Ignite and more for the kill down to the bot side. Meanwhile, top, that leaves Copy, or rather Concept, nice and exposed for Copy and Darshan for the taking.
Yeah, Concept getting bullied out pretty hard here. That support from the TF has just not really been available, especially after how bad it started going in the top lane. And while Joey and Arrow are doing their best finding these solo kills, it's kind of just stemming the bleeding. It does give them a lane to play through, but here comes Cloud9 now wanting to punish.
And Malice rotating from the Riverside, teleport coming directly on to the turret, and Pretty, a nice stun, following up with some of those cards slicing through Malice, but all of their eyes are on the singular jungler to get him off, which allows Immortals to bring themselves into safer territory in the tri-bush and no longer threatened. Though there are 20 seconds on the Drake, so the timing of these backs will make it more difficult for Immortals to try and contest in the near future, and a chance for C9 to try and stack.
Still a good play by Malice. You're kind of just, this is what Udyr becomes. He's just like this idiot who runs around the rift and gets you to look at him. And so instead of finishing off that turret potentially, his presence kind of behind them, they all jump on top of him, try and get the kill. But that whole time he just runs away, protects the turret, and now, like you said, gives them an opportunity to be prepared for this dragon. They're right on top of it on spawn.
Get out of my ball pit. This is my playgrounds, which means they can just slap at this second Drag.
Who can say? Let me ask you this. Why is it called a Drake, but it gives you a dragon soul? Riddle me that, Riot designers.
I could have sworn too the text used to say dragon more, and then it changed to Drake. And I know a lot of EU people would call it Drake when NA people would call it dragon. And now I feel like Drake is just the accepted thing, except for the soul. It's confusing my linguistics, Riot. What's not confusing is that Darshan is still continually wanting to pull some of the attention over on top. Copy, always trying to hover on this side because that turret's actually been marked pretty low. They have a hefty wave coming in this direction, but it's still the 2v2. There's a teleport coming in for Immortals. They managed to kill out Concept before the help does arrive. So Pretty, even though he's made his way through, not going to be enough to fully protect off of that initial kill. Malice rotating over, sweeps it out, knows there's no vision from the enemies, and Chad and Pretty get the sight. A stun, a route to follow. Darshan and Copy finish off the tower, and now they can collapse upon Chad, but that's a bit of a swifty movement from the remaining IMT members. Has to use the Heartbreaker just to escape. So Viego survives. Meanwhile, on the bot side, complete exposure for the C9 side after the absence of that turret means it's an open curtain call to get some shots down onto Arrow with Isles, keeping himself within that open space so that nobody else from that bot lane could pressure up.
Yeah, nice during that time that Immortals could grab the bot lane with all the attention on the top side, but still a huge win for Cloud9 Academy. Darshan there, knowing that he had Copy in his back pocket, could actually scrap Concept out there. They trade out ultimates pretty evenly, and then because he's already chunked low, it's so easy for Copy to start that dive off. And Copy's been incredible this game, forcing a lot of these plays to happen. Darshan got stunned up underneath the turret, but it didn't matter because Copy had taken turret aggro and made that such an easy dive for his top laner to go ahead and grab that kill. So he's been really good about facilitating both the turret takes that have happened for Cloud9 Academy, the one in the mid lane initially burning Pretty's flash, and then up in that top side supporting Darshan.
Yeah, and even if we're thinking to last year with Copy's play, having been on Cloud9 for a bit of time now, he's been such a focal point in continuing to watch his growth. As right now, grabs a charm onto Chad, actually. Malice and friends trying to finish it off, but flash followed by the flash from Copy, throwing out the Blade of the Rune King. It's not enough, but actually in the end, they can turn the kill onto Copy, taking over the form to get the charm from Chad. And the finish off here means that Pretty kill granted to himself to bring him 2-1 on the scoreboard and 2 eliminated on the side of Cloud9.
No, I was just about to sing the praises of Copy, and he feeling himself a little bit too much, thinking he's the fed one, tries to go in there and get the final kill onto Chad, ends up tricked over the wall, and then that gives Chad the resets, baited in Malice as well, a 2-0. Not the end of the world because there aren't a ton of objectives up. The Dragon already down, bot lane turret already taken for them as well. But it does give them a nice little bit of gold back in their pocket to help this Viego, who from behind can feel pretty awful to play if you're not getting resets and finding opportunities to kind of grab bodies throughout the fight. That was a huge bit of gold that Chad was able to grab, though he didn't get any direct kills himself. Makes him feel a lot better because he was in the 4,000s in gold before. He was around, you know, the support Lux level before getting some of those assists.
And now much more powerful, and off of that pressure that they exerted over on bot 2 with that wave pushed up, you can see the rotations kind of unlocking for the Immortals side with Arrow and Joey able to support the rest of the team here. So nice reset opportunity for them as, yeah, Chad, the man who piloted Viego 4 times in week number 1 for them to get all of the victories in such a strong start, falling back on the champion once more. And you got the Caitlyn and the Lux for the later portions of the game as well. So a lot of scaling opportunities for the Immortal side as long as they keep scrapping through and making sure to keep C9 with some chains around their necks.
Yeah, I think Cloud9 is going to keep going for this bit of a 1-3-1 lane setup most likely. Keep King and Isles mid lane working on wave control. Malice can move between these side lanes to either work with Copy or Darshan. And that will hopefully separate Pretty away from going to Concept if he's forced onto opposite sides of the map. It does stop the TF pressure a little bit, and he is susceptible to getting ganks given the lack of mobility. So they have a little bit of a plan forward here. Cloud9 will be putting this pressure on Immortals, as well as the fact that they have the Drake stacking. So at some point, Immortals is going to have to upset this lane situation and find a fight around the Dragon.
And that Drake stacking is exactly why Darshan ended up backing right now after pushing the wave so that he can make himself as powerful as possible for the potential looming fight. Getting set up with some of the vision here. Immortals were first to the rotation, so they've got their controls through, and then Malice, Isles, and King keeping themselves on this mid side for the collapse because Copy and Darshan are ready to rotate over. Teleport directly through for Concept to bring this into a 5v5. And if they can get this wave pushed up, maybe they can set themselves up better for the fights.
Yeah, it's hard to get onto Malice, though, especially when supported by the Karma. They find the root, though.
Yeah, Root follow up, slicing through with a final spark. Malice effectively brought out of the fight. Does have a little bit of healing for himself. Curtain has been drawn. One shot into Concept, one right below him. Second one does connect, but meanwhile, it's the distance that matters most. As C9 can collapse onto the objective, prioritizing bringing themselves onto Soul Point. Immortals no longer to contest without their jungler.
Right away, you see exactly what I'm talking about. Chad just not having the damage to find the initial kill into Malice. He lived with what felt like 20 health, couldn't get that. It means there's no reset available for him, so Chad ends up getting popped, and without him alive, it's an easy third dragon for Cloud9. No smite to contest, and Malice just heals up a ton if he's able to live. With the turtle stance, with the honey fruit, which is everything combined, made it so there's no risk at all on that dragon.
Chad saying, come on guys, I just gotta get a little bit stronger, and the next time he's a dead bear and I can do something about it. So we will see what happens next time around, but unfortunate to not be able to get that first kill off. Viego being so reliant upon just really cascading off of that initial aggression. And now it is Soul Point for C9. So if you're Immortals and you were already willing to try and contest that on that specific stacking, you really have to think about it just that much more when the next one spawns around 4 minutes from now, because these have been going down pretty quickly as we're just now getting to the 20-minute mark.
Yeah, it's a big concern. You'll be facing potentially the end of the game just at 25 minutes. Hopefully you can get a couple more items onto the Viego during that time, get your second item. Maybe Concept can reach his second item. Kate and the TF are in decent situation, but just a Caitlyn at 2 or 3 items trying to pelt this armor stacking Udyr with shields on top of him will have a hard time breaking through if the AP threat in the Gwen is not able to bring some more items to the fight.
And Gwen, while she does have the Riftmaker, obviously the first biggest step towards eventual power, and even some of the boots to try and offset some of the damage that's coming her way, still want to get a little bit stronger. And right now, Pretty has Copy and Malice on the trail, trying to clear out this wave as quickly as possible. But a root into a charm. Flash attempt by Pretty, but you're already dead, my friend. Malice gets this one. An arrow here for a little bit of cleanup.
This is exactly what we were talking about with the lane assignments. Ahri versus TF in the side lane. If the Ahri is ahead, the TF is under a lot of pressure. If Malice can find a way to get with his mid laner and make a play happen. And just such good utilization of the kit there by Copy. The root goes through minions, so start that one. Once it lands that, you can dash over the minions to land your follow-up charm. So much crowd control available in the kit. It buys enough time for Malice to get in there as well. They get that kill. It forces the rest of Immortals to start pulling their members around the map and just puts so much pressure on them, as well as just getting some extra gold in their pocket. Copy looking good again this game after that slight misstep around the Dragon Pit when trying to finish off Chad one time.
Sometimes you see a charm connect and you just gotta go for it. You know, it doesn't always work out. And I do wonder too with Ahri, you think about it, and it's not like this is a pick that we have seen until the changes on 12.3, obviously coming up a bunch in Champions queue. So still trying to find those limits of exactly how much can I burst down, exactly when should I be following up on those. So I do appreciate the attempts to really unlock her as a champion within the games yesterday as well as today now with Copy, and seeing what Copy and Malice can do as a duo. Darshan's always been somebody who is comfortable being that side lane threat, really providing whatever the team needs. King and Isles have worked together for a long time at this point through their era in Academy, even though there's a completely different approach taken by Cloud9 at this point in time and not as much scrim opportunities for them together, but they can rely upon that. So seeing Copy and Malice get to a bit more of a comfortable position, it says a lot of great things for this roster as they go through Academy in the future.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too, given the fact the Cloud9, scrim system, all the stuff they talked about, and who's gonna start and whatnot. I know Cubby was hyping up Copy quite a bit after Fudge had a rough lock-in tournament a little bit, saying, "Oh, he's probably the better mid laner right now. Maybe he should get some time in there." I haven't seen Copy on the Soraka yet, so who can really say? But he's definitely looking clean on the Ahri.
Yeah, we've seen him look good on the TF, on the Vex in the past. Also able to pull things out like the Akali as well, as you're talking about. So I'm excited to see another champion within his arsenal moving through the rest of these games. And Immortals, on the other hand, having to worry about the 3k gold lead that's been established for Cloud9. A lot of these waves on the sides they've been continually having to give attention to. Concept on the back, caught out by Darshan. Oh no, that's a down Gwen, which means the rest of Immortals say, oh, okay, we know that that threat is no longer there. Let's try and be a little safe and back off into some of our vision in the Riverside.
Yeah, they tried to bait a potential Baron situation there, but C9 don't really respect it. They don't have insane Baron damage as Pretty.
Stun onto Jhin gives you a little bit of agency, but the curtain call is answered once more. Isles nice and chunked out. A good old orb thrown through by Copy as well. Gwen, the one to fall. Concept no longer into this equation. Malice, good tank up of the ace in the hole, because look how chunky that boy is. Shields will do it. And now they get to start up this Drake. This is Ocean Soul point for Cloud9. Flash forward, a good charm, and the root follow-up means that Arrow is no longer for this world, bringing down the blunt point onto him. Isles flashes out of the back, and another kill goes down as King to have fallen. No more ADCs for this one. And Malice, keeping his eyes over on the objective, actually gets sliced away by Concept. Look at that sustain, look at that ability to survive. But Copy on the Ahri, too powerful. The Spirit Rush, enough to close the distance here. Immortals losing 3-2 of Cloud9, but it's enough of a difference for the red side team to try back up on this Drake once more. Joey, you are a very squishy Lux indeed. So even with the roots, even with the lockdown, It's a difficult position to be in. Darshan's here as well. Joey knows that he's running in the opposite direction. A final spark to try and get some slice through somebody and bring him down into the anchor below, but cannot do it. Cloud9 out on top.
Good job finishing off the Lux, just removing any possibility of a smite seal. Both junglers were killed in that fight, so no smite available, but Cloud9 take the easy route, make sure they finish off the Lux before grabbing this dragon. Now they have Ocean Soul after dominating that fight. Very well done by Cloud9, and from here should be a pretty easy closeout. Eventually, you're just going to start posturing around this Baron, and there's not much they can do considering you'll always be getting healed up from that soul.
It is great that they're checking all of those boxes where a lot of teams may just say, okay, let's go ahead, let's try and burn down this dragon as soon as possible just to get it done. But making sure that none of those looming threats are there, those are the things that are going to carry you into consistent performances against multiple teams, not running away with this lead and this momentum that you have been building in terms of adrenaline all game long. And Immortals now, they have to worry about the Ocean Soul here for Cloud9, that extra level of sustain in these fights. Think about how hard it was for Chad in a lot of these cases to finish someone off, to get that first kill, to be able to really pop off in the fights, and it's going to be made that much more difficult.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty long run of play, but Darshan was able to make a pretty big move there, and I gotta say it was impressive to see. I think the initial kill was well done. He had a full item advantage, but then wrapping around, putting pressure on them, it made Immortals want to bait that Baron and led to that entire dragon sequence.
All right, so where do we go from here then? Because Cloud9 are ready to start up this Baron, see if they can draw the attention of Immortals, who begin to make their rotation. Pretty does have teleport available, still off in the distance if they can get some sort of positioning right. Also has the ultimate too. Copy, subject of the ace in the hole. Now Malice, the next subject of concept right here, going for the isolation. Pretty stun up over the wall onto Copy. Can't get quite back into the fight, so instead it is King that's creating the distance. Joey, the first subject of the shots, but Chad positioning himself in between immediately after. The needle work comes through from Gwen to slice through Darshan first, but they have to retreat, so it's more difficult to land the rest of those hits. And now, while nobody has fallen in the fight, enough of the resources were brought through, enough of the displacement of positioning, so Cloud9 return to the original objective.
It was basically a 4v5. Copy got chunked out with a gold card over the wall at the very beginning. He wasn't even involved in that chase down sequence, so just 4v5. Cloud9 pushed them off the Baron. They force a ton of ults out, and now that means that Immortals just says, screw it, we don't have a chance of stopping this. And they're just going to go try and shove out bot lane instead and just sack the Baron completely. There's not much they can do about it, and that's exactly what I was talking about with the healing from the the Ocean Dragons and Soul being able to allow Cloud9 to take a fight, not really win it, but not lose it either, and just go back at full health.
The purple ribbons are flittling at the feet of C9, so plenty of overall team buffs for them to work with right now. You can see Chad just hanging in the bush to see if he can get one locked up. Copy dashing over the wall with the spear rush so that he can get out of this. The charm ends up getting eaten up. Nobody dies just yet. Teleport coming from the lane positioning. Copy ready to go in once again, but Malice is taking up the majority of the damage. Darshan returning over to his jungler. Both get rooted, and now the separation of concept from the rest of the team leads to his life getting taken, and Chad is so low that he can't continue to venture on forward. Arrow also autoing as much as he can on the retreat right now. Stun up onto the Adir again, but look how tanky, look how much healing, look how much survivability the Cloud9 team has. So they create the space once more with this curtain call. Immortals, even when they don't die, just lose so much agency in this fight, so they can take the inhibitor turret. Inhibitor number 1 will be the next target of Cloud9's eyes, and all the while Darshan with the Baron buff ushering that wave over towards the mid lane so they can get a second one for themselves. Joey, a final spark ain't gonna cut it at this point. Concept coming up in 3 seconds for them to attempt to go for some kind of defense against the rest of this take of these inhibitors, but there's nothing they can do about it. A single sweep to take all of the outskirt turrets, not quite finishing off the last inhibitor, Let's see if Immortals can make something happen here. Copy goes on forward to get another charm. Blast through with a Q. Pretty has been marked out of the equation. Arrow flashes back and still trying to auto. Darshan gives his life. And now Chad finally starting to get a little bit of a reset with the activation of the Heartbreaker. They take down Malice. So with 2 eliminated on the side of Cloud9, they can't quite finish this game. So they're going to back off for now. Immortals winning in the final moments of it.
Yeah, nicely done there. Darshan getting a little too far ahead of himself. Definitely feeling himself a little bit, but it handed over a 1,000 gold shutdown, as well as a very fed Fiora for Chad to start trying to pilot. Not as clean on the Fiora, but still quite strong. He tried to hit a parry stun, but there was no CC coming his way. Potentially could have had a whole chase down sequence there if he just stays the Fiora. Maybe you can get a couple more kills. Wasn't able to do that, though. At least it shoves them out of their base, but it is triple inhibs down. It still feels pretty doomed.
Oh, Copy going for it again, getting another charm. I watched as the ultimate came back online and he doesn't even need it just yet. Gwen goes in for it. Arrow still here as well, but Pretty so chunked down. A good stun onto Copy. Isles is offering some kind of support in this. Arrow, oh no, okay. Arrow just needs one more hit before he finally dies. Copy's the one to slash through it once again with the Orb of Deception. And Pretty, oh, every time he's chunked down, look, hey, we got all these supers in our base because guess what? Last time they were here, they took all of the inhibitors, so we're extremely vulnerable from all of the enemy pressure that they have created. It doesn't matter that it's still taking time for Malice
Who needs a reset
to get to the rest of the fight. They don't need it. Nexus is going to get the next targets from the C9 side. Immortals funneled into their fountain. The last drops of hope have evaporated as Cloud9 take the first victory.
A very long sequence for you there, Gabby. Good job calling that one as they cycled all the inhibitors, backed out of the base, then turned back around and ended the game. Cloud9 was in complete control pretty much this entire time, starting with that really nice invade with Darshan and Malice. Shut down the top half of the map. It just never got rolling. And you can see in those late game fights how much it hurt to not have a fed Gwen or Viego getting those kinds of resets in those extended fights. So that was a huge part of this game, was the bot lane win condition of the Kate Lux looked okay, but they never got that support from the top half of the map.
It just wasn't something that they were able to try and offset. And then when you get into those final moments where Cloud9 just have so much available to them with the Baron buff, with the Ocean Soul, and then of course, as soon as you get all 3 inhibitors down, you get that extra benefit of the additional supers. So even when they're trying to worry about the team, hey, your base is getting crashed in. And Cloud9 overall domination in this game. But that was just game number 1 that we got on the docket for this series. It is a best of 2 after all, so we're going to kick it to a break. And when we return, we'll get you geared up for the rematch between Immortals Progressive and Cloud9.